This is Stefen Choy, and welcome to the Earnings Analysis Report. So this is a new thing that we're starting today. So as you guys know, I do trading with Livevol at 10, but I'm starting with this report, which is the earnings report. And let me just show you guys what that is. So every day I get this report, and you guys can get it too, but this is a report that I get. Basically what it says is upcoming earnings for these symbols. It says when the date is, what the estimated earnings is, what the stock price is right now, if they have weekly options, what the volatility of the first and two expiration options are, and then this is the option implied move, and then this is the past 4, 8, and 12 quarters of the stock throughout the earnings. So usually what I do is I kind of run through it, see what interests me. I'm just going to eliminate a couple of them. So this one I'm going to eliminate this. Basically, we don't have enough data, even though if I go to the earnings tab, yeah, it has some information here, but not enough for me to go on. JOSB Bank, they're a takeover stock. So basically, they're merging with Men's Warehouse. So you know, they're not really going to move too much, and there isn't really that much to do, right? So if you look at it, pretty much nothing is trading. The other one interesting is Apollo. So Apollo Group will have earnings today after close. I talked about this, I think, the other day. The interesting part about this is that it's implying like a 10% move on the option, and if you look at the last 12 quarters, or if you look at the last 4 quarters, basically it's moved a lot more. So like you see this Apollo, it's projected to move 10.3%, but if you look at the last 4, 8, and 12 quarters, it moved a lot more, right? And if you look at the Apollo chart, it's been kind of doing this wedging since February, so maybe you know, everyone's waiting for this news announcement for it to move. So if I look at the weekly, you see how it's wedging in there. So if I look at the order flow breakdown, basically, you know, people are slightly buying premium, which makes sense going into earnings, and the net deltas are positive, and these are from all the trades that happen. But if you look at the overall IV, it's down, and if you look at the chart, let me look at the 1 year. Pretty much, it's right near 52-week high. It's pretty much what it's been the past 3 earnings, 4 earnings. You see earnings here, here, here. And we'll see what you know, what happens. Like if just by looking at this, I don't really get a sense of any one particular way it's leaning. So I would say it's pretty neutral, except for the fact that maybe like it's this is like consolidation up, kind of makes it seem like the next move might be up, but I don't think it's enough to put a huge bet down, and none of these trades here is indicating to me that it's going to go up. Even if I look at the option montage right here, there's nothing here that really tells me that I should do, right? Maybe since the trend has been up, if you want to be brave, maybe selling some kind of put spread. But you know, even this put spread, there's nothing really here that's that great to do. It is implying, so normally this stock could move pretty much about $4. If you look at it here, close was 1938, 1730, close was 21. 26, 27, 30. So we'll see what happens. So this earnings and divvy tab, kind of what this does, gives you the last 5 days and 5 days after earnings. And then this tells you the front 2-month straddle, the value. So this is the front month, this purple. The yellow is the back month. And then here's the volatility going up and down. So, and it gives you the last 8. So as you can see from here, basically made money on these straddles, lost money on this one, and then lost money, made money, and this one maybe was a push. So, overall, nothing that stands out in Apollo. Like I said, if anything, maybe sell some puts or something, but we'll see. Let's check out Monsanto. So if I look at Monsanto and look at the stats tab, let's see what the order flow is. So Monsanto is supposed to release earnings tomorrow before market. Looks like most of it is calls. They may be leaning a little long delta, and a little bit premium. But you can see, like, they traded 4,500 contracts. It's about a little past middle of the day, and they do about 6,700. So it's not that much. The volatility is pretty much flat. If you look at all this order flow, it's not really telling me anything, really. If anything, maybe it's saying it's still consolidating, and maybe the right thing to do is maybe sell some vol. But in terms of the, if you look at the vol, it's not really that high, right? So this 23 is it's kind of in the middle range. It's not even that high. It's expected to move 2.5%. So normally what I don't like about these, it's so low that I don't want to take a shot because I'm not really that familiar with exactly what's going to happen with their earnings. And then I don't want to sell anything because the vol's relatively low. No one's really expecting it to move, so there's nothing really to take advantage of. So my thinking is like, there's nothing too much to do in Monsanto either, just from the order flow perspective. Micron. So Micron, I've been trading Micron for a little bit, in and out. Let me should go to stats. So 2-to-1 call, but looks like people are generally selling calls, and maybe some selling of the put. But if you can see, what is important here is 25,000 out of these 37,000 calls traded on the offer has been buying out the money calls. So maybe that's causing it to be kind of leaning the deltas long, even though most of the block trades have been sellers, right? So, and maybe today's bounce is kind of, so today it had a pretty good bounce here. So maybe people are thinking it's consolidated since January. Maybe it's time for an up move. But for now, the vol, if you look at the vol, it's pretty much on the high range. It's expected to move around 8%, but traditionally it's moved a little bit more than 8%. So this is something that's interesting. I think for me, if I had to, like this chart right here, just from looking at the chart, looks like maybe it might actually, even with the earnings, it might only move up a little to the 23, 25 range, right? So, we'll see. To me, it's not that big of a issue. The stock being up, if anything, I think I might be interested in selling some puts. Maybe if you feel like this 22 is the bottom, right? Selling some puts might be the way to go. Let me actually look at my, right, so I have about $9,000 room left to sell some puts. So I might be interested in maybe, you see these April 19 at 64 vol, maybe sell some of these puts, right? The 21 puts. That might be something of interest. But right now, I don't know. Maybe if I want to take a one-time chance, maybe I'll sell these puts, right? Or 21 puts and buy these. But because I think it's going to, maybe selling a strangle might be the way to go. So this is, what's 10%? It's like 230, so 26. Right, so it's $2.50 is the move, so 26. Right, so you're betting on it being 26 or like 20. If you sell that strangle, it has to be within this going into earnings, right? After earnings, so 20, 26, 250, and then you'll be selling maybe these puts. So yeah, you can sell those puts. That's 18 cents plus 20, so 50 cents. So 26.50 is when you'll actually start losing. But 21 to 24, 21 to 24. So I'm looking at the chart right now. Also you can look at the past earnings. So you see how if you sold that straddle, basically you would have done okay. Let's see how much it's moved. Buck. So that moved about $2. So in the end, it looks like and Micron has earnings 4.3 aftermarket. So basically, there's still like some time. But I think what might be a good one to sell is that strangle, the 26.20. I wouldn't do too much, so you'll get hurt. But I think that's a pretty big range for this chart. So basically 20 is here, and then 26 is up here. So even if I look at the 3 months, so you're not going to get hurt until if you go up here, and then you would have to go down here. So I think that's kind of what I'm looking at. But I think I'll know more maybe tomorrow. If I see something good here, I'll trade. Usually on these earnings, I trade at the very end of the day, because that's when I have the most amount of order flow information. And also I compared with some of the other stocks that have already announced their earnings. The other one is Carmax. Let's see what they got here. So basically on all these earnings, I follow the same thing. So I look at the stats, right? So it looks like, look, they're buying a lot of calls in this, right? So I know this one's the first one out of all the report that looks kind of leaning one way. So they're leaning bullish. They're buying the May 1748 calls, which is not necessarily the earnings month calls, right? So the May is not April, which is actually the earnings month, and they're investing more on these, right? So the 48 calls. So if I look at it, basically they're buying these calls right here. It's one of those things like it's important to keep track of, but who knows? So that's what they're buying. I also look at the vol, right? So the vol is kind of like in the medium high range for earnings. So you see how this one is same as what it was last time, but the previous 2 times it was higher, right? And it still has a few days to go. So it says 2 more trading days. So it's interesting to keep a track of. But as you can see, it's been on an uptrend, and people are buying calls right now. The 48.5, and they're paying 145 for them. So out of the 2,400 bought on the ask, they're buying just the one strike out calls, and it's implying a 6% move, these options, and the stock has moved around 6% for the past 12 quarters. So I look at this, I look at the volatility is one, then I look at the past earnings, and I see kind of what happened, right? So if you look at just this, I do a quick straddle comparison of how it happened. So the straddle kind of like you lost a little, made a little, pushed, maybe lost a little, lost a little, lost a little, made a little. So if you look at, and then I look at the closing prices, right? So like, close, I see it moved like very little, close, maybe $2, close. So like this one moved $5 last December, which bodes well for this month. So usually what happens is after the stock moves quite a bit, the option prices kind of are higher. But you see like the last 3 earnings, if you look at the historical vol, which is this blue line right here, right? If you look at this blue line, you see this blue line jumps up at every earning. So here it went down, here it went down, here it went down, and here it went down. So, after every earnings, basically the last 4 times, it seems like the trend, like a couple of weeks afterwards, has been to the downside, and the volatility has gone up quite a bit. So you will see if the vol actually goes up again. So it's interesting to note. But people are buying the upside calls this time. Maybe they're figuring, there's some more to the upside. So right now, I don't really like for this. It's just it's the first one where people are really bullish. What you can do now is start like reading some fundamental analysis to see if that's actually going to be, they're going to have good earnings or bad earnings or what people are expecting. So you can start doing that now if you are interested. And then, I guess it just generally depends on where you view the car industry going, and then you can also take Carmax's specific fundamental analysis into effect, and then see how it turns out. But right now, a lot of calls buying. I'm gonna read up on it, but we have a couple of days. So in wrap up, basically. XON and JOSB Bank, basically there's nothing there. APOL, Monsanto, pretty much not that much info. Micron, I think they, in terms of Micron, there isn't that much, but selling maybe some kind of strangle might be pretty good because, they do chips, and so far, it seems like it's a very known stock, so maybe a lot of the price will be built in, and it won't move as much as maybe it's saying. So it looks like it's been in this range for a while, and maybe this announcement will just confirm it and stay in this range even longer. So maybe selling some kind of strangle might be the way to go. But again, this is April 3rd, so we have a couple of days. So I'm going to keep track on Micron, keep track of KMX, and if there's something that's obvious, then that's how I would trade it. So for now, keep an eye on these, and let me know if this is something that is of interest. But I'm going to start doing the earnings analysis report every day as well, just so you guys can kind of see how to analyze earnings leading up using LVX, and I think it's pretty valuable. For those guys who want to take a trial, go to livevol.com, go to Livevol X, and get a free trial that way. I hope you guys have a good day trading, and talk to you guys tomorrow.